apartheid government collapsed because the people fought for land, both in Namibia and in South Africa. So don't play with the issue of land. It remains a consistent need for access and justice for as long as humanity keeps on reproducing children and grandchildren.
Okay, so you resigning from Swartbooi actually drove you to actually starting or birthing the Landless People's Movement.
That's right.
So what was the primary motivation of you starting the Landless People's Movement?
The quest for restorative justice. In the issue of land, in the issue of governance. You know that many African states are actually not reform-based nor revolutionary. They continue to do what was done. For instance, if you look at NWR, it was started by taking land of communities during apartheid. And now that independence came, NWR still continues to benefit from what apartheid gave it. It never went back to those communities and said, look, listen, the previous government took land from you to create this parastatal. Since we are a new company under a new constitutional dispensation, we want to offer you shares because we took parts of Etosha, or we took Etosha. It was your land. Can we offer you 5%? The other community of Umsati, you were part of areas of Etosha. We offer you 5%. Ondonga West, this was part of your area also. We offer you another 5%. That type of remodeling and repurposing of state institutions never takes place. So the system just continues as it continued to function with elbowing of certain communities and advancement of other communities. And so I said, we are going to start this movement to address all of those legacies within which the state itself can correct and push for restorative justice on such matters as land ownership, land access, questions of equity, and then, of course, to address the urban land question. I mean, here you have a massive, massive, massive difficulty of land in a place like Windhoek. Is the current government able to solve it? Quite clearly not. They will not. No, they will never, even if we give them 50 or 100 more years in government, they will never be able to solve it because they have exacerbated the problem of land injustices and have made the question of housing and the question of land a far greater structural problem in the economy than it was before. And remember, this issue of land is the result, if not well handled, of many governments collapsing. Apartheid government collapsed because the people fought for land, both in Namibia and in South Africa. So don't play with the issue of land. It remains a consistent need for access and justice for as long as humanity keeps on reproducing children and grandchildren. Everyone will need a piece of land to build their house. If you don't handle that issue right, you will always have a structural problem. And I tell you, the way it looks like, 35 years, you go to a place there behind Okuriangaba, essentially they call it Okapale. It borders Ongos, which used to be a commercial farm. I'm saying these people must electrify these fences because Windhoek is getting into Ongos and will go beyond. And Ongos is now building new houses, shopping complex and so on. But the shacks, the informal settlements will be going into that area. And so whether you look at Kenya, whether you look at South Africa, whether you look at Zimbabwe, this issue of access to urban land, as of course it is the case in Latin America, if governments don't apply their minds and apply resources to address this issue, I tell you, human habitat challenges will constantly result in conflict situations. Yes.
So would you say is there a relationship between this Landless People's Movement and then the one in South Africa?
Well, in terms of thinking, perhaps, but ours has its own genesis. As I said, the question around land in both urban areas, around agricultural, commercial land, around mining land. That's a big issue. Then we structured this party to look at what type of government do we want for our country, and who are the primary beneficiaries that we want to advantage through the structure. And we said our children and their children and their children's children. So immediately that tells you that we are projecting a long-term struggle, a long-term project in which we are now going to conceive it, constitute it, and consolidate it in ways that represent the values of today, but able and flexible enough to accommodate the values of tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. So we are involved in a long-term project that must be conscientiously able to drive change. And that change is not easy. It's change within yourself. It's then change in institutions that we're leading. And that is why we had massive confrontations and constellations around disciplining people that we deployed to local authorities and regional councils. We said, if in the orange color, under the banner of LPM, we do exactly the same things that the ruling party has done to society, then there's no difference with us. So if you are found to be corrupt, if you are found wanting on ethics and on your integrity, please vacate so that we can intervene to help you to build those shortcomings that you have and strengthen you so that you can be declared fit and proper for purpose. Many people then left the party thinking the party would collapse, but we stuck to our value system and we said, we rather fail in elections without the wrong people in our party than succeed in elections, get the wrong people in, and have the same problems of corruption and maladministration and selfishness and greed consume us, and that we'll therefore lose our identity as the agent that wants to be the alternative leader of society. It's a difficult thing to do in a political environment where stability allegedly is everything, and we are saying no. Stability of the organization, absolutely important, yes, but it's not everything. There are values and virtues and understandings and conduct that must become intrinsic to you as a member of LPM. Otherwise, no. Stay out. We can do without you. And we are not in a hurry to take power. We are 5 years old, we are 7 years old as a movement, 5 years old as a registered political party, 5 years now in National Assembly. We are not in a hurry to take power left, right, center without our people having been ready in terms of their thinking, both from an ideological and from a personal conviction point of view. And that is, for many people, the boring stuff of LPM. When you get recruited, we make sure you are in the youth league good, you are in the elders good, you are in the women good. We have a linkage with some colleagues of Piper. Some of the colleagues we send from here to there. When they come back, we have continued workshops and arrangements of conferences and small meetings. 20 people, 40 people, 60 people, again 10 people, 5 people, where we sit and explain to them in this way that we are doing. What is ideology? What does it mean when we're a leftist party? What is integrity? Let's look at our value statement, because we have a value statement in the preambular articulation of our constitution. What do we stand for? We are, for instance, saying we want to transform you from being a good citizen to being an active citizen. You can't sit at home and say, I pay my taxes, I don't rob anybody, I go to work on time, I do my work, I pay the dues that I must pay, I go to church, things must be okay. We are saying thank you, you are a good citizen. But bring out all of that by becoming an active citizen, so that what good you are doing can be a contagious action once implemented as a seed among many. That is the boring stuff of what people call party building. Other political parties don't do it. You will see other political party leaders. They do the welcoming remarks. They do the opening remarks. They do the keynote speech. They do the closing remarks. They do the legal understanding of things. And we're saying, no, no, no. Here we build capacity, transform people, and we're focused on women. We're focused on youth. And whether or not you were in another political party, we're saying, the good that you did in that party, please replicate it here. The bad that you did there and it worked for you, please don't do it here. So it's a difficult thing, Elizabeth, to build a party. Let me tell you up front, it's a difficult thing. If I will advise someone, if I owe somebody advice, I'm likely to say, don't start a political party if you're not ready for it.
Wow.
If your hunger, your personal hunger, exceeds your staying power to do what is right and just, don't do these things. If your hunger, your personal hunger, is too important for you to address so that your stomach is full, don't do these things. You will be stressing yourself, you will be wasting your time. You must be stronger than your hunger to succeed in being consistent, to train people, to equip people, to push people, and to push yourself. And the first thing you learn here is to constantly reflect about yourself. Constantly. Am I saying this right? Am I doing this right? Am I being fair to this person? Am I not being too strict? Is my view on this matter correct? The moment I believe I know something, there's a problem. Close it down. Start over. Because you can't know everything. Who am I without the team? The team is important and so on. So the young people here would tell you that I would be scolding them. Even this morning, I would be pushing them. I am tough with my team. Extremely tough.
Okay.
Because I don't plan to stay on here forever. I have put for myself specific time frames that I must start to exit. And the biggest thing about leadership, the way I understand this, and Miles Monroe says it, is not to chase people. It's to chase the purpose. And the people will come. And in chasing the purpose and people come, you empower them and make sure that that purpose gets spread to as many people as possible across a variety of generations. Then you know the seed is planted 60 years, 70 years, 80 years after you are no longer on earth, 90 years, 100 years, because today's 10-year-old is tomorrow's 40-year-old, today's 5-year-old is tomorrow's 90-year-old.
Yeah.
Then you know that when you have planted sufficient seed in a number of generations, 2 or 3, you have consolidated them, you have worked yourself out of a job. I don't want to be here 70 years doing an interview as leader of LPM. No,
Really?
no. I want to be on my place.
With your family.
Family, reading my Bible or preaching somewhere to my cattle or to my goats or to 5 people on the farm, or being preached to or being prayed for or praying for somebody, farming and being at peace.
I see.
I don't want to be a grumpy old man who hates the fact that people come and talk to you about their problems because I've been at this for 30 years or 40 years. I pray to God to have grace for me that I don't end up in years, 80 years. You want to be a Biden who probably even forgets his name. No, I'm sorry. I don't. I respect people for wanting to serve, but thank you, but no thank you. There are other things to be done. And this is part of the challenge that I think some young leaders are beginning to experience, even in South Africa, that you started the party, you have done well, 10 years have gone, 15 years have gone. You don't start thinking of going, at least after 15 years or 20 years, you are planning to keep on staying. And some of the colleagues you started were saying, maybe it's time for us to go. So the founder-president syndrome is It's a difficult disease that you have to have a conversation with yourself and say, Bernadus, you are not going to be here for 15, 20 years unless the situation and by popular demand you are here. But even 30 years, by popular demand, sorry. If there is still popular demand for you, that's fine, but you have not built others to replace you. We must at some point say, enough is enough. I've done my part. There's nothing that I can do. I'm going.
Yeah.
And that's part of the value system that we are building in the party. And it's not easy, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Many people don't understand it. The politics has been go in, make sure you stay put, get your bank balance from zero to a couple of millions, then you have succeeded. This is the narrative of post-colonial African politics.
Yeah,
and we have to dismantle it.
Yeah, that's very true. So how do LPM actually plan to actually tackle unemployment?
Oh, Elizabeth, I think that question is one that you need a whole weekend to deal with, because unemployment is a global problem. And it is bound to intensify in leaps and bounds in ways we have never imagined with the fourth industrial revolution that we are living in. You ask a person to draft a statement. They go to ChatGPT and produce a statement. You read it and you say, I know you, and I know this. This ain't you. The person has produced something. So even here, I said, wait. I want your statement. Because if I have to accept it here today, then why do we spend money on you? So go home. Should I say it? No, don't say it. Then draft your statement. I want you to develop yourself. So it can go on, whether it's the production of vehicles, whether it is the production of computer software and so on. The question of global unemployment and youth unemployment is one that will humongously impact humanity in ways beyond our initial experiences around unemployment. If we think unemployment is bad today, we will have to rethink how it will look in 30, 40 years. And the seeds of that decimation of the human in a job, those seeds are being aggressively planted by what we call progress in artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So there has to be a fine balance in terms of where we want to be as a country that doesn't want to be left behind with respect to fourth industrial revolution versus what are our structural economic problems that we've got to deal with in a manner that we don't leave any human behind. There are the basics that I can tell you about, that we can do about reforming agriculture so that you take from the 150,000 people that are employed in agriculture and push them up to 200,000-300,000 by availing great affordable loan schemes to both commercial farmers, resettled farmers, communal farmers, and give them a loan perhaps on a 2% repayment rate, so that the cheap loan could generate a demand and farmers can diversify their farming portfolio from just livestock to irrigated agriculture and so on, where you actually give much more resources to the local authorities in the country so that work to revive and rebuild and reconstruct our society can actually take place in local authorities, instead of keeping money at the center and trying to implement programs from the center. For instance, you look at a place like Rundu, and you look at a location like Ndama, where there are so many shacks, a huge population. If you give Rundu every year a 50 to 60 million, categorize them and say central government funding for tier 1 municipalities, Swakop, Wolfish, Windhoek, we will give them 150 million every year for road maintenance. We're going to give them that money also for construction of built together and low-cost housing every year. 150 million uniquely set out for Windhoek, Swakopmund, Wolfish. Imagine when they start building houses in those places directly, the employment that you create, not entrepreneurs, immediately through the state-led system of the local authority doing it. Road infrastructure, electricity provision with 150. Come back and say, tier 2 municipalities, 100 million. You build houses, tarred roads, electricity, water supply. That's the money. People will pay for water, they will pay for electricity, they will pay for rates and taxes, but this money is to help improve lives there. You give to town councils an 80 million. Imagine what that would do in Rundu, in Dama, where you can now employ the very community members to build their houses. Imagine the revitalization of society through revitalization of specific communities, each where they find themselves. This is the sense we are trying to build. Agriculture, repurposing of funding and redirecting funding to local authorities, making the central government smaller. Why do we need the Ministry of Gender? Why do we need the Ministry of Trade and Industry? What does it do? These are small departments. Why do you need massive monopolies like Manpower? But to look at this thing, it makes the economy uncompetitive, open up the space for many players to come in the electricity, both generation and distribution sectors, and create a dynamic space within the electricity generation and distribution sector so that many players, businesses can come and you create economic opportunities, including in the production of panels and wind turbines and all sorts of things. I can go on and on about the economy because it's one of the areas that I'm actually very excited and I, having been a governor, understand the nuts and bolts that you must put together as a government department, as a government as whole, to get things working. I mean, right now, people talk about Red Force as the evil. Red Force is not an evil. It's not.
Why?
Red Force is led by smart business people that found an opportunity in the market and say, local authorities are struggling with revenue collection. Why? They don't have capacity. Why? The capacity for them to employ more and more people was reduced the moment that state support from central government reduced to local authorities. So they don't have the hands to do the work. They're struggling because you need to keep data. You need to keep writing to people on an individualized basis. Red Force says, well, the entire government is outsourcing. Tenders are being given to people, that's outsourcing. So they say, let's make an offer to local authorities. Let's do your revenue collection. Have they done bad? No. In terms of the quantities of amounts of monies that they have collected, have they done well? We can debate, but I think they have not done that bad. Have they been aggressive? Of course. It's revenue collection. Even NAMRA is aggressive. Who that collects revenue has been friendly? Tell me, when your Edgar's people call you, when your JET and others call you, are they friendly? They are not friendly. But there has been a mandate that Red Force was given by the local authorities that they must act in particular ways to get the revenue. They have just followed it. Now people want to make Red Force the problem. Red Force is not the problem. It was a solution. If the local authorities feel they must be less aggressive, take it up in the terms of reference and give them another terms of reference so that they can be soft and soft. So the decimation of local authorities and the capacity to provide services by reducing funding to local authorities to almost zero. Almost zero. I'm not saying zero, almost zero. 1.5 million, 7 million, 10 million. That has created a major incapacitation of communities to live a life of opportunity and of possibilities. And this is how we want to create those opportunities. But there are other things. You are already, Elizabeth, at creating jobs. And it's an important part. But having gone around again this time to the entire country, there is one thing that stands out. Hunger. Absolute hunger. People not eating for 3, 4, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. I met someone that has not eaten for 15 days. Hunger. So we intend to look at how we can bring about a funding formula, not food, where citizens can be given an allowance to fend for themselves for a limited time frame while we fix our agriculture and while we fix other opportunities so that people can at least start to eat. I speak to nurses. I speak to doctors. In some hospitals, patients are kept for 1-2 years longer because in order for them to have a healthy life, they need the food. Outside, the nurses know they cannot get the food. If you discharge them, they will go die. So keep them for the 3 meals in hospital so that you keep them on life support. These are realities that we are not talking about. Namibians are dead, hungry, Elizabeth. And I cry about it because this is not where we should have been.
That's very true. So will you say that you are in support of the big Namibia?
Absolutely. But it has to be structured in a way that it does not create dependence, that it does not undermine the capacity of the economy to recruit people. Because if someone comes and says, look, I have this job for you as a petrol jockey at Shell service station, I will pay you 1,700, for instance, and the basic income grant is maybe 1,500. Someone says, no, between opting to work and staying on my laurels without doing anything because I'm a recipient of big, I'd rather keep on staying. That type of thing we have to deal with. Because it must be an interventionist approach, not per se a way of life, where if you can change your life, you choose not to change your life and you choose to depend. In Germany and other places where they have this social welfare system, you have to meet certain criteria. You have to show that you have enrolled for capacity and skills building, that you have actively and deliberately sought for opportunities within the past 2 years after you were laid off from your work. If you don't show these two variables, you can't be able to qualify. And these are the types of things that we must work into the system. But indeed, I will be a proponent of basic income grant, not food grants. Give people money, put it in their pockets, let them deal with it, including a direct grant for citizens from the oil revenues. And they are doing it in Norway. I believe, and as LPM we believe, that every citizen in this country must be given an X amount, but a decent amount, whether it's 4 times a year, whether it's 8 times a year, howsoever the model is, that Elizabeth must, by virtue of being a citizen, get a direct check payment of an X amount into her account because you're a citizen. And because governments have stolen so much of state resources. When you as a citizen know that there is a check, hypothetically speaking, of 30,000 coming every 4th month, and this comes directly to me because I'm a citizen and it's sourced from the oil resource, how would your confidence be in those that run the affairs of the state? And the resources must be shared with citizens directly. Yes, electricity you get, clean roads you get, decent housing some get, but you must as a citizen, and that's the most powerful position that anyone can occupy, not permanent residency. Sometimes we're treated as permanent residents in the countries where we're actually citizens, and you get treated better in countries where you're not a citizen. But to give every Namibian an X amount of money from the oil revenue, for me, that's a much more credible way of addressing poverty directly. The economic models of trickle down are not always the ones that successfully work. I am for frontal attack on poverty. One of the frontal attacks, as I told you, is a grant for hunger relief. The other one, basic income grant. The other one, the oil and other resource grants, or allowances, or allocations, whatever you call it, directly to every member of society.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So actually, I want us to actually move to the current events or the current affairs, things that actually recently happened that involve LPM. So,
So you will take the discussion from that level to the local level.
yeah, the
Of
local.
recently your deputy leader resigned from the party. What are your views on it? And I'm likely to say people are free to come, people are free to go. Yes.
Okay. So they are also like, because of that event that also happened, people are now also doubting the unity of LPM.
So let them doubt. Who cares? Let them doubt.
So they, because of the speculation, so because of the event that actually happened with Honorable Henry Sabeb and then the others leaving LPM, people are now doubting that there's a disunity in LPM.
Who did you speak to,
and
Elizabeth?
that it's actually the media, and then there's
So they are not the people.
Yeah.
How many people are in the media that can actually vote for us?
Yeah, the people in the media, but also like the people in the community as well.
Who? Which community?
So, yeah, they also say...
Which community did you go to? Which specific community is doubting?
Not like specific community, but just like discussions around and all that. So, and then saying that this might affect the upcoming elections or the unity of all people.
Look, I mean, elections are affected by the weather also. The day of elections, there could be floods. People may not turn up. There could be great wind storms.
Yeah.
People may not turn up. So politics is affected by so many things in any event. But what we have been consistent to say, which I repeat, the cause is greater than individuals, and we have to constantly move forward. The way we see it from every realm, be it physical or metaphysical, is that those that are supposed to leave will leave, so that those that are supposed to carry the baton forward have the space to do justice to the cause and to the purpose for which they came to this party. And therefore, on aggregate, there is no loss for us. I can tell you, when some of these people left, in the month since then, the magnificent growth of the party has been overwhelming us. And when you tell people about magnificent growth and so on, they would say, well, this guy is in politics, he has probably to make himself feel good. As I'm telling you, whether it's in Zambezi or Kavango East, whether it's here in Katitura, at Okapale or wherever, the growth of the party in Khobab or Chivarango is immense. It's as if a veil has been removed where there is clarity and a great capacity for internal renewal. There was a time that I was, for 3 years, in a mode as a person of uncertainty. People are going to leave the party. Is the party going to collapse? There's a phone call coming in. Maybe it's another problem. I'm past that. We are at the point where, as LPM was saying, whether we campaign with the greatest number of financial resources, the share of the vote that we're meant to get is what we will get. Unless, of course, there is foul play, which we expect. But the time is long gone where I, as a person, and my team as the collective, were panicking about which part of the country will desert us, how will our votes be. We are not there. It's all in the hands of Namibians. If they want the situation to continue, it's their business. If they want change to happen, that is also their business. So if they vote for us, we will bring the message, we will bring the campaign, we'll bring the strategies, we'll bring the tactics to bear. We'll deploy the little resources we have to do what's got to be done to defend the vote. Beyond that, we are so relaxed to be straightforward and bottom down honest with you. We are so relaxed. If Namibians vote for the same ruling party they did, don't come to us and complaining about electricity tariffs that are high, about school and education that is. We'll just straight up tell you, go to the people you voted for. Because we will not be pushed around by society. Because the problems of society will have to be solved by the collective of society. A political party is an instrument to guide the direction that we must take to solve those problems. Society must be convinced by its own articulations and its own assessment of its objective conditions that they either want change or they are fine where they are. So the responsibility is not mine, is not LPM's, to try to herald a system in which we remote control people or where we'll be desperate. We will never be desperate about votes. Forget it. Because when you get desperate about votes, you start saying anything to everybody just to win votes. But in the process, you will have lied to people. So whoever leaves, and if others think this party is not stable, that's their problem. We will try our best to tell them, do you see that there is no massive outflow of people? There is none. Good. Do you see that the work and the activities of the party continues? Yes, we do. Do you see that we are staying on message, on point, on every occasion, and we're trying to do our best, and we're recruiting new people, new members are coming? Yes, you see. What else can we say? So there's no crisis. There was a time that I was so worried about everything under the sun. This party is going to break, this party is going to collapse, this party is going to do that. We are saying sometimes, in fact, most of the time, when people leave, less problems. Because we have experienced those individuals ourselves. We know them better than journalists who sit under their air-conditioned office spaces and make an assessment out of 4 or 5 of them at a drinking place and say, even that journalist, even the other journalist, even my other colleague, they were saying LPM is no longer, it's just 5 of you. We are on the ground every day speaking to drinking people, speaking to young people, speaking to farmers. We know what the situation is. And I tell you, not a single person has asked me about those names that you have asked since they left. Not as, even in the party. People just say, goodness, we are relieved. These people are gone. They have been harassing us. They have been insulting us. They have been humiliating us. They have been belittling us. We are relieved of these people. That's what the party structures are saying.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, I actually want us to move now to the issue of the significance actually of the issue of the resignation, like the LPM actually calling the resignation of the Namibia Diamond Correctional CEO.
How many minutes do we have?
5 minutes.
Okay.
Nee. Okay. Then
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Calling for the Namibia. You see, Namibia, they have taken us to court. Sorry, now I'm moving up. You will be editing. They are taking us to court because our colleagues complained about some of their colleagues who went into the Spergebied area without the permits and so on.
Yeah.
So the state basically is taking us to court, partly also because of statements I made in Parliament, which is protected speech zone. So the long and short of this is, Namibia, since I was governor and before, comes to the central government, they say, we are experiencing the end of the life of mine. But if you can give us a relaxation of the rebate of 3% we are paying to the state, we can see how we will survive. Then the state says, okay, you don't need to pay royalties anymore. We will exempt you entirely from paying royalties. The royalties amount to 3% of Namib's income. And therefore, when they have to pay it over to the state, it amounts to 3% of their expenses.
Yeah.
Once they are given exemption, Namibia comes back and says, now, the mine that was about to collapse, whose collapse was imminent, has a lifespan of 30 more years. And I'm saying, what is the mathematics behind? Why is Namibia milking so much from Namibian society? So every time Namibian society is told, if you don't give us this rebate, or this refund, or if you don't give us this exemption or that exemption, we are likely to close down. And society must say, okay, please, in order to continue, we will give you that exemption. We will give you this rebate. We will allow you to do this. And we are saying, no, no, no.
Really?
Then there is a problem with the management and the leadership of that mine, because if they cannot manage the mine into profitability, and if society must subsidize that mine, then there is a problem of capacity. Maybe it's time we get new people that can run that mine differently. Yes. Besides, why is that mine still relevant? Yeah. Have you been to Oranjemund?
Not really.
You must go there. You will see when you go to Oranjemund, they have pushed the ocean back a couple of kilometers. And they have put a wall of sand, huge wall of sand called the seawall. And they are mining on the bottom of the sea. And that seawall has to be maintained every 24 hours. What does it tell me? It tells me, and it tells you, that the days of the mine getting the diamonds offshore are over. It should tell us that. Because 100%, if in the minimal sense, 100% of its ore comes from where they have the seawall. And the sea is up there. It has been pushed back with a seawall, with the sand. They are mining here. So, was it its mandate? Was not its mandate. That marine gets the ore from below the sea. Namibia was supposed to be offshore. They are now onshore. Why don't they close? Why are we keeping them there? Why don't they close? So that the employees can then be taken over by that marine, which does not need a seawall. It has the technologies to extract the resource from below the ocean. Why do we need two companies that do the same thing? Why do we need that expense? We could, and by the way, the largest, at this point, the largest quantities of diamonds come from that marine, from the ocean. That's why Namibia is also going into the ocean. So these are the issues that we are grappling with.
Okay, I see. So we're actually coming to the end of our interview. So how do we envision the future of Namibia under the leadership of LPM?
Oh, it's going to be difficult. It's not easy. We have nonetheless said to ourselves that we are going to be honest with our people. We are, as we are campaigning around, we are not telling anybody that we will resolve your housing problems, we'll resolve your land problems, we'll resolve your education problems. No. We are telling people our country is in a mess. We will take time to resolve things. It's not 5 years, it's not 10 years. But there are basic things that we will systematically do in a phased way. The question of urban land and agricultural land, the question of agricultural reform, and that we're able to strengthen our agricultural base, because all societies have developed and industrialized from strengthening and diversifying the agricultural base. And once we have strengthened and consolidated the agricultural base together with the tourism base, there are other exciting things that we'll be doing, including allowing multimillionaires and multi-billionaires special types of opportunities to come and spend their money here. But I will not divulge all of that. But ours is a leadership of honesty and of integrity. Ours is a leadership that will admit mistakes upfront and straightforward. We will not try to hide the truth. We'll speak to our people. Our young people are the present and the future of our country. And we'll make sure that we try by all means as humanly as possible to remain humble and oriented to the cause. And we will not be spitting out missiles that we don't have. That's what elections do to political parties, to pretend to do and to pretend to be able to do more than you actually can. And this is where my experience as a young person from the prosecutorial authorities to the Prime Minister's office to the governorship to the deputy ministership, to the position of a member of parliament is very helpful. Other political parties have leaders that have just worked in a small office doing certain medical things or doing some other agricultural things. They now want to lead society, but they have not had the opportunity to grow within the system. I know the limitations of government, whether it's local or regional or national. I know the limitations of government programs and government activities. I know it. I know that government can never fix all our problems, but it can provide the necessary resources, the necessary climate, the necessary framework, and then it can galvanize the necessary international support to have a positive focus on your country and on your society and help you to properly rearrange the distribution of your resources to the optimal fashion possible that you can give to your people and lift their income levels while saving sufficient resources for the next generation. But I'm so excited about what we can do by the grace of God and by the full participation of society as a whole.
Good to hear that. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you very much.
I would actually love to relieve you here unless you have anything else that maybe I left out that you actually want to address.
No, I just want to urge Namibians to go and register to vote and to remember the heavy responsibility upon them, young and old, to register to vote and to actually go and vote for a different Namibia. For as long as they vote along the same patterns, they can only blame themselves. I have chosen to vote for LPM, and I have chosen to offer my life as an instrument for service of society. I am privileged to work with a team that is helping me, guiding me, advising me, and helping me to become a better leader, helping me to mature. And clearly, I have over the past 5 years as a member of parliament grown in ways that when I look back at myself, I am just saying, thank you for the grace of growth. We have grown both as a man, both as a leader, as an architect of the type of society that we are envisioning together with my team. And that growth is evident in how we approach matters unlike before. It's evident in the manner in which we are pushing through a number of young people into the service, and in particular evident in the way in which we empower women. So we are excited.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All the best.